All right, ready to have your mind blown?
Uh,
Because today we are diving deep into the world of satellites and agriculture.
yeah.
We're talking about using space technology to understand water and how it impacts crops.
And it's really amazing stuff. We're talking about being able to see how thirsty a field is from
Oh,
space.
really?
Yeah, to pinpoint where water is abundant and where it's, well, desperately needed. And it's all thanks to something called the Normalized Difference Water Index, or we call it NDWI for short.
NDWI?
NDWI,
Yeah,
yeah.
that sounds like something out of Star Trek.
It
Is
does.
it that complicated?
It sounds complicated, but it's actually a pretty elegant principle. Just imagine the sun bathes the earth in light, right? And that includes wavelengths that we can't even see, like near infrared and shortwave infrared. Now, water absorbs shortwave infrared light like crazy, but plants, they mostly reflect near infrared, so satellites capture these reflections, and that is where the NDWI comes
So
in.
it's like plants and bodies of water are sending out these secret signals invisible to us, but these satellites are eavesdropping.
Exactly. They're decoding the messages.
So tell me more about this NDWI decoder ring. How does it actually work?
Okay, so think of it like this. You know those old decoder rings you got in a cereal box?
Yeah.
This is kind of like that, but for water. NDWI takes those two types of light we talked about, the near infrared, the shortwave infrared, and calculates, just a simple ratio between them. High positive values.
hmm
On the NDWI, those are usually, that's a dead giveaway for water. Think
Yeah.
lush fields or a giant lake, anything like that.
It's like a moisture meter
Yeah.
from space. So what happens when the NDWI value starts to go down, like toward zero?
Yeah, so as you move down that scale, towards zero and into the negatives, things are looking a little drier. It's like the difference between, I don't know, a lush rainforest and the Sahara Desert.
Wow.
And it's all revealed through this one index.
That's wild. Okay, so we can tell essentially how thirsty a field is from hundreds of miles away
Yeah,
just by analyzing light.
pretty much.
So it seems like a powerful tool, especially, as we go through climate change. Water is becoming more and more precious.
It really is.
But let's get specific.
Yeah.
How are people actually using this in the real world?
Yeah, you're right. It's not just some abstract scientific concept. This is making a real difference in how we manage this vital resource. One of the biggest impacts is in agriculture, where farmers can use it to make, much more precise decisions about irrigation. And we're not just talking about water the field. We're talking about the difference between blindly watering a field and knowing exactly which areas need a little extra love
Oh, wow.
and which areas don't.
It's like having a water treasure map, guiding farmers to exactly where they should be focusing.
Yeah, it shows you the gold, which is the water in this case.
And you had mentioned before that NDWI can help us understand water on a much larger scale, too. So it's not just about individual fields, right?
Right. So remember those NDWI values we talked about, ranging from negative to positive? Well, that data can be applied to entire regions, which allows us to monitor drought conditions in a way that, honestly, was pretty much impossible before. Imagine having this, giant water stress map
Wow.
that updates in real time.
Okay, so instead of just, reacting to a drought after it's already devastated, crops and communities,
Yeah.
NDWI can kind of give us a heads up.
Exactly. We can anticipate these events and actually do something before it's too late.
Wow.
Take California's recent drought, for example. NDWI data helped water managers and farmers understand, how bad it really was
Okay.
and make, some tough choices about water allocation. But you know what? Ultimately, they were able to mitigate some of the worst impacts on agriculture and the economy.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
From a single field to an entire state.
it's incredible.
NDWI is changing the way we approach water.
It is.
But what about something more sudden, like a flood?
Oh, yeah.
Could NDWI play a role in something like flood management as well?
It absolutely can. Imagine a hurricane slams into a coastal region.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Widespread flooding. NDWI data becomes, honestly, invaluable in those critical, hours and days afterward.
So instead of relying on, delayed reports or like sending people into potentially dangerous areas, you
Exactly.
could see it from space.
We can get this near instantaneous snapshot of the damage from space.
Wow.
We saw this in action after Hurricane Harvey devastated parts of Texas, a few years back. NDWI maps, they revealed the extent of the flooding, which helped emergency responders target their efforts, and it helped farmers assess like the damage to their crops.
Wow.
And that information is crucial for things like, insurance claims and disaster relief to make sure that, that the resources are getting to the people who need them most.
Yeah, it's like this superpower almost where you can respond more quickly, more effectively, more compassionately.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. And here's where it gets really, really fascinating. So NDWI's potential goes way beyond, just agriculture and disaster response.
Okay.
We're just starting to explore how it can help us understand, broader environmental changes.
Okay, you said the magic words. Broader environmental changes. Give me some examples.
All right, well, for starters, think about wetlands.
Okay.
So wetlands are some of the most, biodiverse and ecologically important ecosystems on the planet,
Totally.
but they're also incredibly vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And what NDWI can do is help us monitor their health by tracking changes in water levels and vegetation. It can provide these really early warning signs of, stress or degradation.
Oh, that's so cool. So you can literally like see a problem maybe before
Exactly. Exactly.
before it's full blown.
Wow.
Okay, so what about, we talk a lot about deforestation on this show.
Right.
And, obviously cutting down trees has a huge impact on water cycles.
Yeah.
So can NDWI help us kind of understand that connection better?
It already is. There have been studies that have used NDWI to show how deforestation in the Amazon rainforest, this is just one example,
Right.
is actually affecting rainfall patterns and water availability. And we're not just talking locally here, we're talking across entire continents.
Wow.
This kind of information it's crucial for, informing conservation efforts and developing more sustainable land management practices.
Yeah, it's like this one index is giving us this whole new lens
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
through which to view the world.
Like a new set of eyes.
Yeah, and especially as, climate change continues to disrupt weather patterns and water resources, I mean, this is only going to become more important.
Absolutely. It's going to be critical.
So we've talked a lot about the big picture stuff.
Right.
But I want to, I'm always curious about how this technology sort of trickles down to the people on the ground.
Yeah.
Like, are there companies out there that are, making NDWI accessible to, say, I don't know, like the average farmer?
Absolutely, yeah. There's a whole wave of like agricultural technology companies that are leveraging the power of NDWI. They're using that and other satellite data to help farmers make, smarter decisions.
Wow. So it's not just, scientists in a lab and government agencies looking at this.
No, not anymore.
Wow.
It's getting out there.
So give me an example, like who are some of the companies that are doing this really well?
Okay, so one company I find particularly interesting is called Pharmanaut.
Pharmanaut, okay.
So they take this, complex NDWI data, right?
Right.
And they combine it with other information.
Okay.
Like weather forecasts, soil types, even like AI-powered predictions to create these like hyper-localized recommendations.
It's like having like a personalized agricultural advisor in your pocket.
In your pocket, telling you exactly when and where to irrigate, when and where to fertilize, even when to expect like a pest outbreak. It's really amazing stuff.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's about empowering those farmers, giving them the information they need to optimize, what they're doing.
It sounds incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
I have to imagine, though, that there are still challenges
Oh, of course.
to using this technology
Yeah.
effectively. I mean, analyzing satellite data can't be easy.
You're absolutely right. It's definitely not, just point and click.
Right.
One of the biggest hurdles is dealing with something called atmospheric interference.
Atmospheric interference. What do you mean by that?
So think about it like this, clouds, haze, even dust storms, they all get in the way of those satellite sensors trying to get a clear picture of what's happening down on the Earth's surface.
Oh, okay.
It's like trying to take a photo through a dirty window.
Yeah, totally. So how do you get around that? Do scientists have to wait for like a perfectly clear day?
I wish it were that easy. Unfortunately, we can't control the weather.
Right.
And that's why we do something called ground truthing, which is so important.
Ground truthing.
Ground truthing, yeah.
What is that?
Basically, it's a fancy way of saying we have to double check what the satellites are telling us by taking actual measurements, boots on the ground.
Okay, got it.
Think of it like calibrating an instrument.
Okay.
So by comparing the satellite data with what's actually happening down on Earth, we can fine-tune the algorithms and account for, all those little distortions.
It's like high tech meets boots on the ground field work.
Exactly. And it's incredible how much this technology is evolving. We're seeing incredible advancements in like AI and machine learning
Yeah.
that are helping us not just interpret the NDWI data more accurately, but even, get this, predict future water availability.
Whoa, predict the future. Come on,
Yeah.
that's straight out of a sci-fi movie.
I know it sounds crazy, but it's becoming a reality. Researchers are developing models that use the NDWI data, historical weather patterns, and a bunch of other factors to create these, like, crazy accurate forecasts of water stress weeks, even months in advance.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, you think about, farmers who need to rely on, a water source.
Absolutely. It's essential for them.
That's a game changer. What else is coming down the pipeline? Any other, like, big breakthroughs you're excited about in NDWI?
One word, 3D.
3D, as in, like, three-dimensional NDWI models.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Wow.
Imagine being able to see water content not just on a flat map, but as this dynamic, like 3D landscape.
Okay.
We're talking taking into account elevation, slopes, even underground water flow.
You could track how water moves across entire regions.
Exactly.
Wow. It's incredible.
You could predict floods, identify hidden sources of groundwater. I mean, the applications they're limitless.
Absolutely limitless. It's kind of mind-blowing to think that this technology, which comes from, analyzing light we can't even see, could help us solve some of the biggest problems facing the planet.
I know. It's really a testament to human ingenuity.
It really is.
We can unlock solutions we never even thought possible just by looking at the world in a new light.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally, yeah.
Well said. Well said. And, it gives me hope
Me too.
that even though we're facing these huge, complex problems, there are people out there, like you, who are working on solutions.
We're all in this together, right? We've got to be.
That's right. Well, to our listeners who are now, I hope, as fascinated with NDWI as we are, if you want to learn more, where should they go?
Well, we'll be sure to put some links in the show notes
Perfect.
to some really great resources so you can dive even deeper into this amazing world of water and satellite technology.
And as you're exploring, here's something to think about. We've been talking about NDWI, how it helps us manage water here on Earth, but what about other planets?
Right. Could this be the key to finding life beyond Earth?
Ooh, that's a good question. Food for thought. That is a good question. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of NDWI.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was fun. It's been an amazing journey, and honestly, I can't wait to see where this technology takes us next.